Okay, let's move on, because we have a question coming in from Emma on Facebook. She wants to know what each of you would do to make cycling on our roads safer and more popular. And do you agree with the manifesto from Stop Climate Chaos that at least 10% of your transport budgets that you draw up, if you're in the Parliament, should be directed to fresh investment in walking and cycling? Mike Crockart.
Yeah, I mean, I think we need to, Sarah's already said in a previous answer, we need to look at the types of transport that we are using for the vast majority of our trips, which are under 2 miles long. We need to be making sure that we have the facilities there, safe facilities to get people back onto bikes. We need to really, I think the only way we're going to do that in a safe way is by trying to make sure that we separate cars and bikes to a large extent. Now, we have some of that in Edinburgh working very effectively. We have a lot more that could be done. Equally, walking, buses, things like that for school trips. The vast majority of early morning trips in cars seem to be school run. Just driving around Edinburgh at a time when it's school holidays, especially unfortunately private school holidays, and you see the huge difference that can make. So yes, more investment in cycling without doubt, but we need to be doing it in a way that makes it easier, especially for younger children to be able to out there, and that involves separating it, which is more expensive.
Ian McGill, what would you say in a budget debate in a few months' time about more being directed to walking and cycling?
Yeah, one of the things that excites me in the Conservative Manifesto, we have pledged my bugbear as I cycle around. I've got many bugbears as I cycle around Edinburgh, but one is the potholes, and we have a pothole repair fund in our budget, which is going out to local authorities. In addition to, it's not to replace what they're already budgeting to fix their potholes, but it's in addition.
Let's leave potholes for another day. I know it's a contentious issue, but the point is to ask you, do you want to put more money on for cyclists?
Yeah, it's a major one for cyclists, and as a cyclist in Edinburgh, this is my #1 bugbear. And if you cycle around, I dare you to cycle from my home to my office and avoid the potholes. This is, so this is a very progressive step for cyclists. It's just fixing the potholes. Everything else comes afterwards, and it'd be great. Let's get more separation. Edinburgh has some great separation. The cyclepath network is great. If the signs would all stay up, that's my next bugbear. As you get and you say, oh gee, someone's knocked down the sign, and I wonder what way am I meant to be going here. But listen, don't underestimate the potholes as an issue for cyclists.
I think the questioner, though, who I'm representing, wants to know what extra investment would be made to make walking and cycling more attractive. That seems to be the point that she's asking.
And as I mentioned, one of the things in our manifesto is extra funding there to fix the potholes and fix the roads. And as I said, that's a first step for me.
All right, I think we've got the message from those who are concerned about potholes. Patrick Harvey, would you care to answer the question from Emma about what investment should be put in to encourage more walking and cycling?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would actually echo the point about potholes. First of all, we should be repairing the roads that cyclists do depend on, as well as buses, instead of building more capacity. But we need to go way beyond that. And I think, if you look at the state of Glasgow's cycling prevention, it's really pretty dismal throughout the whole city, and it's a dangerous feeling to cycle around in Glasgow because of the way the roads are laid out, because of the way road traffic, the internal combustion engine is king. That's the way our roads have been designed in most of Scotland. And we've also got to think about the planning system as well. Journeys are built in based on where we allow housing developments, where we allow city centre developments and so on. If we want to reduce demand, and if we want to encourage people to have shorter journeys that they're able to make by bike and on foot, we need to use the planning system more cleverly as well. The thing that frustrates me most of all is that the massive multi-million, 100 million, billion pound plus investment in the high carbon capacity in the road network gets little scrutiny, little challenge, and it's this much cheaper, much more effective, and much more economically beneficial, because it has such a health benefit, much cheaper interventions on walking and cycling. They get put through the ringer and those kind of projects just aren't getting spent. You know, we need to shift the investment from the catering for the internal combustion engine to catering for people's real needs and meeting those as low carbon as possible. This can be done, but it would be a profound change to existing government policy.
Okay, what's the position of the Scottish National Party? Because the number of people that you see walking and cycling around Scotland is shocking if you compare it to many countries in Europe. What do you intend to do about it if you're re-elected as a government?
It is something which Scotland is still woefully behind a lot of our small European neighbours on. One of the last aspects which the Scottish Government put through recently was actually looking at cycling proficiency and cycling training across Scotland. This was something that came out very strongly when the Transport Committee within the Parliament, which I was a member of, looked at the whole issue of active travel and the fact that that was exceptionally patchy, if not non-existent, in a lot of local authorities in Scotland. So actually looking at cycling training, cycling proficiency, so we're building that into the next generation, is very, very important. One aspect which came out even stronger than that, though, was safety. And I hear what people are saying about separating the car and the bike, but that's not necessarily the answer in all cases, because it can't be done in all cases. And we can't have a situation where we do in this city, where we have marvellous off-road cycle paths that are very well used, but people are too frightened to get to them because they still have to travel on roads. And that's the same whether you're going between towns, cities and our villages. So we need to look at actually how we're spending the entire road budget, and actually whether we're spending that money right. And I don't think we've got that right under any administration. There is still money that's being spent on schemes that are poorly laid out, that we've got the guidance on. So we have much to learn in that. I think the Transport Committee showed us that there is a way forward in that, and that it's safety that will change people's mind. And if we can change that aspect of it, I think we'll see a lot more active travel taking part.
All right, Sarah Boyack, Scottish Labour, what will they commit to if they were elected as government?
Well, we would increase the spend on cycling. We'd also encourage employers to make it easier for people to cycle to and from work. We'd set up a cycle award scheme for employers. I think we've got to make cycling normalised. We've got to make it a choice that people want to make. Everybody's talked about safety, and I do think that's fundamental. I think women in particular are scared to use the roads, and the paradox is you actually need a lot more cyclists on the roads to make them feel safer. And I think there's a whole raft of things we can do. The Safer Streets Walking and Cycling Fund that I introduced as Minister over a decade ago did start to give local authorities the opportunity to spend money at the local level where it matters to people. And I think that's absolutely crucial. And I think one of the other things I would say is that I think you've got to make sure that there are more bikes on the streets, and I think we should look at some of the London experiences. Do we go down the bike hire route so that you can take maybe part of your journey you're going to cycle, but you walk or you get a bus for the other half? I think we've got to be creative, and if we're going to meet the 10% of all our trips by cycling by the year 2020, it's partly about investment. And I take the potholes issue, because if you're avoiding a pothole, you're going into the line of an oncoming car. That is a horrible place to be if you're a cyclist. So it's about improving the infrastructure, it's about changing attitudes, and it's about making schools and hospitals and public buildings and designing in cycling rather than designing us out, which is where transport policy went for 20 years, and it's taken us a while to shift back from that.
Okay, I'll cut you off there, Mike. I've got a question which has come in based exactly on what all of you have said. All five of you are politicians. All five of you have failed to answer the initial question. Is that a surprise? Would you, yes or no, spend at least 10% of a transport budget on improving investment in cycling and walking? Ian McGill, yes or no?
We've no specific, no specific number for that. So.
You've no specific number, okay. Patrick Harvey, would you agree, if you were in a position to influence it, that you would spend at least 10% of the transport budget on investment in cycling and walking? Yes or no?
Yes. Our manifesto hasn't been published yet, but when it is next Tuesday, I think you'll be happy with the commitment that we've made.
So you've given us an exclusive on that one. Sarah Boyack, yes or no?
We've said increase and we haven't put a figure on it.
So you're not prepared to answer? That's two not
No,
being
no,
prepared to
I'm
answer?
That is an answer.
That is an
That's
answer. If I
Why-
said yes, that would have been an answer. We have not given a target of 10%.
Okay,
We have said we will increase.
so you
I'm
can't,
telling you what's in the manifesto.
you can't commit then, no.